Good morning and welcome to another webinar by JBC. So today we are going to be talking about understanding meta ads, campaign development. So last time that we met, we talked specifically about the audiences, so your saved and custom audiences, a little bit about lookalike audiences, and now we're going to get into more of the nitty-gritty of creating those ads. So my name is Jennifer Baker. I'm the owner of JBC, an agency located in Kingston, Ontario. On the webinar today, we've got my colleague Vish. Give a little wave. She's managing all the comments in the chat as well as letting you in and out of the meeting. She is currently in India and she is returning on Monday. So I'm super excited. Well, she's returning. She's on a plane on Monday and she'll be back in the office later this week. So I'm super excited to have her back. So today, what we're going to be talking about, I always like to start with learning objectives, and they're going to be very similar to what you saw in the Eventbrite registration. But we're going to be talking about ad campaign fundamentals. So what makes a successful campaign and the different campaigns that are available for you based on your goals. Then we're going to talk about ad sets and ads. So there's a lot of, I'll say, the word ad happening, and I'll try to explain it in the best way possible. We will talk a little bit about budgeting, as well as duration, campaign periods, and conversions. So before we jump into things, again, you can introduce yourself in the chat. I do have the chat open on another screen. So as you're asking questions, I do see them. If I happen to miss anything, you are more than welcome to put your question in the chat and we will get to it at the end. So Vish is going to take control and make sure that I don't miss anything as we go along today. So call for the room. Who has done an ad before? So who has done a meta campaign in Facebook Ads Manager before? You can just put a thumbs up in the chat. You can put a yes. You can put a no. Christine has done one once with a lull. You tried. You're doing it. You're in there. That's great. And I recognize another name on there. Sandy, I know you've done an ad before. You've done a couple before, which is great as well. So that's good. We've got kind of a basic understanding in here. So when you're getting into the ads, there are different types of objectives. And for those of you who have only done a boosted post, and when I say boosted post, it's that at the bottom of your Facebook post, it says boost this or promote this, and you get that little pop-up screen. These options don't exist when you do a quote unquote boosted post. So these options only exist when you are creating a longer form ad. So building on what we did in session number 1. So there's 6 different campaign objectives based on what you want to do. And we're not going to go through each of these in detail today. They operate very similar, but there are some differences, which we will go through. So as you're thinking about why you want to run your ad, why are you running your ad? What do you want to do with it? Do you just want to become, Instagram, Facebook famous? Do you want to get new clients? Do you want to sell more books? What is it that you want to do? So once you have that goal in mind, then you can start to pick which type of campaign that you want to run. So the first one is called an awareness campaign. So what Meta is going to do, it's going to show your ad to people who are most likely to remember. So this is great for that very basic brand of awareness, getting people to watch your video, reaching more people. It's very vague. The one difference with awareness campaigns is that you can control how many times people see your ad in a set period. So for those of you who have ever been consumers of television, or you've been on Facebook and you think, oh my gosh, I've seen this ad 20 times today. Like, this is enough. Like, I don't need this, like too much. This is where an awareness ad, you can control the campaign to say only show once per 7 days. or it could be twice for 7 days. And that 7 days can change. So it could be greater or less than. The amount of times the ad shows up can be greater or less than. But it really helps to control how many times people are seeing your ad, which lends itself to greater reach because now it's going to show to more people. So the second one is traffic. And this one seems to be the most common that I generally see across my clients and people that I work with. But what this is going to do, it's going to take people that see your ad, if they see it on Facebook, if they see it on Instagram, and they're going to take them from those sites and send them probably to your website, perhaps a registration page, perhaps it's your e-commerce stores. So it's going to take you away from Facebook. So this is if you want link clicks, you want landing page views, you want people to look at your Instagram profile, or you want calls. And this one tends to be the most common that I see kind of across the board. People want that tappable action to take people to purchase, to register, to take some action. I'll say the second maybe that I see, the second most common is this engagement type ad. And this is what I call the grown-up version of the boosted post. And I say that in quotations here. But it allows you to take an existing post and say, share it to this very specific audience that we determined in webinar number 1. And it works really well because now you have more control over it. So I saw that Christine has a workshop coming up. So she might want to take people from that existing post and say, go register over here. And now she doesn't have to create a new ad. It's just that post that's already been shared. And now she's going to put some dollars behind it so it shows to that very specific audience. So this is great if you want that engagement on a post, you want people to like your page, or you want people to respond to an event. So it would be a Facebook event that you've created. The next one that I see, which works really well, I don't have a lot of asks for this one, but it works really well. But the leads, so that is a conversion type. So oftentimes you'll see these primarily in stories, and you'll see them on Facebook stories, you'll see them on Instagram stories where it's got kind of an initial graphic. And then on the next story, it's, insert your email address to get more information, to submit your, name. What's the phrasing that they use? Get more information to get kind of on the lead list, essentially. And that's where I see it, is primarily in stories. I don't often see this one in kind of the main Facebook news feed or the Instagram feed. This one tends to work for, I'll say, coaches, people trying to build their email list. It could be realtors. Professional service providers tend to like this option. I don't think anyone on the call creates apps yet, but if you do, so if you do have an app that is in development, or maybe you're going to latch onto one, you can do ads to promote your app. And that would exist within Facebook and Instagram world. I don't think anyone on the call is, but it's available for you. So if that's down the road, this option does exist at this moment. And then the last option, which I think really works well if you are an e-commerce business and sell online. So you've got a Lightspeed account, a WooCommerce account, a Shopify account. And this sales campaign allows you to see conversions. So when people click on your ad, you can see if that click turned into a conversion. So if they actually went through and made that ultimate purchase decision. Now, with all of the changes that have happened with Facebook and privacy and data tracking, it's not perfect. And this is something that we see with our clients as well, that, the web developer might say they saw 10, we might say we saw 9. And then who's right? Who's actually getting credit for where the sale, registration, whatnot came through. But this one does track it a bit more closely, ultimately. Okay, any questions about the campaign types? before we move on? No, Christine's good. Cheryl's good. Sandy's good. Perfect. Okay, so the next thing on the list, and I'll give you a diagram eventually. So once you've chosen your campaign, you're going to have different objectives within that. So under the conversion, oftentimes it will default to website, messaging apps, Instagram profile, calls. So you can choose really what you want to lead people towards. And you can see in here that ultimately Meta wants to keep you in that ecosystem. And depending on the conversion, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, a lot of them are like, join me on Messenger, call me on WhatsApp. It tries to keep you within that ecosystem, which is why the website and calls, that's 2 options there that send people away from Meta. And then we've got 2 that keep you in Meta. So Meta's goal is to keep you there, not to send you away. Just in case you were curious about that. All right, so budgets. Budget. How much do I spend? How much do you spend? I'll ask that a question to the group. So how much should we be spending on Meta ads? What do you think? The answer is not on the screen. Like when I would talk to my students, I'm like, what's the question or what's the answer? And they'd look at the screen like it's not there. What do you think the answer is for your budget? As little as you can. Okay, so we have 2 good answers. So Christine is right, absolutely, with it depends on a whole bunch of things. And then Cheryl, as little as you can. So those are actually really, I'd say good answers. So yes, 100% it depends. And I often say when I'm doing these webinars, as I'm showing this, so I go from conversion to budget, that's how it's going to appear on your screen. But in fact, I like to see the audience first. Like, how big is this audience that I'm dealing with? So I'm in Kingston, Ontario, and I only want to target women who are between 40 and 50 who like coffee. That could probably be a pretty small niche market. But let's say Cheryl is located in Ottawa and wants to target everybody in Ottawa who likes hockey, male, female, of all ages. That is a much bigger audience. So the ad spend for me and women who like coffee can be a lot smaller to reach my audience versus Cheryl, who might have almost 1 million people that she's trying to reach. So yes, it depends on your audience. So if you were with me last time, go back and look at the audiences and make sure you've refined it so that you know exactly who you're sending to. So when it comes to budget, to be honest, the lifetime and daily, it all ends up the same at the end. It depends on how you want to control things. So the lifetime budget means the lifetime of the campaign, not of the lifetime of your life, like your personal life. So it's the lifetime of the campaign. So that lifetime could be 1 week, it could be 1 year, it could be short or long. Daily, it's literally daily. So it's, I want to spend $10 a day, $20 a day, or so on. You could do the math and say, well, I'm going to spend $10 a day. So that's $300 for the month. What's the difference? And there really isn't a difference. What really comes down to is if you see yourself extending the campaign past its end point, sometimes it's easier with a daily budget because you can just say, instead of ending on April 30th, please go to May 15th. And then it just does that. With a lifetime budget, you have to do a little bit of math to say, well, I spent 300 and figure out how much more you want to spend. So oftentimes daily can be better. Now, oftentimes people will ask, if I've budgeted $500 for my campaign, is Meta going to blow it all in one day? And the answer is no. So what it will do, it will take that $500 budget and divide it by how many days, which really ends up being your daily budget. So it's kind of getting back to, daily budget is okay. But no, there was a rumor going around that, Meta will just blow your whole budget in a day. That's not true. It extends it for the duration of your campaign. Now, one of the differences with a lifetime budget, you can choose ad scheduling, and that's not something you can get with a daily budget. So the ad scheduler looks like this. So you can basically choose dates or days of the week and then times, and then you can kind of pick off the boxes that you want the ads to appear. And you think this is kind of strange. Like, how would I ever use this? So there's a few examples that potentially you could use this for and that I've used for. So number one, if you are requesting somebody to call and say, call Christine at, this office between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Our phones are always answered. You really only want that ad to run probably Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. You don't want that ad to run Saturday night at 3 a.m. when they're not there to answer their phone. Okay. So it could be the language in which the ad is written. The second example that could be relevant is if you have, I'll call them daily specials. And kind of the default example I give is a pizza shop that does like a Friday night takeaway special. So that ad only runs on Fridays. So you could have the ad run for 2 months, but it really only runs for 8 or 9 Fridays. Right? Who cares if you have a takeaway special and it's Monday? You want to see it on Friday. Years ago, I helped out with the Kingston Dream Home campaign, and they would run open houses weekly. So I would only run the ads to, I think it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, talking about the open house for the following weekend. And I ran that for 3 months and I would tweak it. But instead of it running consistently and people getting kind of overwhelmed by it, I just ran it on specific days over a longer duration period. So there's some examples where you can use it. You might think of your own examples in your own business, but that's one of the main differences between that lifetime budget and that daily budget. All right, placement. This is accurate as I think yesterday or the day before when I put this presentation together. So placement means where your ads are going to appear across Meta. And I'm just going to give you a minute just to look at this list. And depending on your campaign objective, sometimes there's a few more and sometimes there's a few less. There's a lot of options in here. And if you currently have an ad account, Facebook is being a bit more aggressive with calling you, saying that you should be having placements across everywhere. So from your Facebook feed to Facebook Reels to Messenger to third-party apps, it wants you everywhere because then they're going to get more revenue, essentially. So in here, you can choose where the ad appears. The one that I've seen consistently with the highest impressions is Facebook Marketplace. Because if you're like me, you've probably been on Facebook Marketplace looking for a desk, looking for something, looking for office space. Not that I'm moving, but just you in general. It gets a ton of views. So oftentimes people will turn this off, especially if they're selling retail goods. Because when you're on Facebook Marketplace, people don't want to pay full price for whatever you're selling. So if you're trying to sell jewelry, art, people want to barter with you, and that's not your audience. So you can determine which is going to be best. The other one, and I'll show you a couple examples, I'll bring up my screen in a moment, are stories and reels. How many people love getting ads when they're watching reels? Probably not. Maybe you don't even watch them. They're really, really small. Like they're probably half the width of a dime. Like they're very small. So your creative is probably going to be or should be very simple. And then you've got about 5 words. So it's not an ideal placement if you want to showcase something or you have a lot to say. Potentially. So Christine asked, would Facebook Marketplace work well if I'm hosting a postpartum class and put it with people searching baby items? Potentially, yes. You could also simply leverage organic social media and join those types of groups to say, hey, I'm imagining physiotherapy for postpartum moms. And instead of even doing an ad, so you could kind of get into those networks as well. The other ad type is your audience network. And if you're getting calls from Facebook, I get a lot now, but this is called an audience network. It's another type of placement. So Facebook has partnerships similar to Google in that your ads will show up on other apps, other websites, and there's native, banner, and interstitial, which I struggle with that word. But they're not ideal. I'm not a fan of them. They tend to work really well for video. So if you've got native video that you're going to be sharing, it works pretty good, but anything else doesn't work ideal, in my opinion, in my experience. So let's take a little peek at what we're working with here. Can everyone see the screen okay? I've switched over to a Google app. Yeah, okay, thanks. So this is what the ads manager looks like. So we've gone through this little section here with our campaign. Now we're in the ad set, and this is where we're getting the performance goals. I can't remember which. Oh, I picked awareness. That's what I picked. And this is that cap I was telling you about. So I can change, I want 4 impressions every 8 days. I want 4 impressions every 6 days. So you can control how much or little people see you. When you're in this portal, it can be very overwhelming. So even looking at this screen can be overwhelming to a lot of people. There's a lot of bump outs. There's a lot of columns. And sometimes this portal simply just doesn't work. It's having a bad day. So I like to tell people it's not a you problem, it's a meta problem. So grab a coffee, go for a walk, reset it, and then come back to it. So there is a lot of frustration that does come with this screen because of all the things happening in it. So there's our budget and schedule. So make sure to always add an end date. You can choose to schedule well in advance. So if you're on top of things. There's our audiences. So last time we talked about creating audiences. So we can go over here. So you can grab your saved audience in here. So there's our example saved audience that we did last time. You could make a new one if you're like, I don't want that. I want to try something different. You can go through and create a new one and then simply save at the bottom. And this is where meta gets tricky. And again, where you do need patience to use this tool. So I'm at the last option here under placements. I don't see any buttons here. Christine's like right in the computer. She's like, I don't see buttons either. You have to hover your mouse or your tracker pad to even get this edit function up. And then once you click it, then you have to go over to manual. So more and more, I'm noticing that Meta does this, that it's not making the options as easy to find. So if you do want to do any sort of customization here, it's that patience and knowing what to look for. So now in here, I can go through and pick what I want. So if you want to become more familiar with all the options that are in here, you can use your mouse or tracker and just simply take a peek because it will preview for you. And you can get an idea of what each of them look like. And we go all the way through. One I do want to show you are all the stories. Let's see the reels. So the one with the reels ad is not this like bag of peaches. That's not the ad. The ad is at the bottom. So you can see the logo and you can probably barely see it say Jasper's Market. So it's like, it's small. Sometimes they have a placement where there's like a little tiny picture. That one too. Sometimes they show up like this. So depending on the placements that you choose, sometimes they're looking like this. What's another one? And then these are those third-party ones, but you can go through and unclick anything you don't want. So boss of your business and you say, Meta, please don't put my ad on stories or reels, you can unclick them. And realistically, the only one you really need is the Facebook feed, but I do recommend a few more. So you could have Facebook feed, you could have Instagram. The right-hand column's pretty tiny, so usually that can be hit or miss as well. But we're going to get into the ads reporting so you can see where the ads actually appear. And sometimes it can be quite surprising where they're showing up. Okay. So take some time. You could spend a good hour just going through and looking at all of these placements and just familiarize yourself with that. Okay. Is that new? The placements, Cheryl? Missed your comment initially. Nope, it's not new. It's simply under the awareness campaign. So maybe you've done ads in the past, but if you never clicked the awareness campaign, it was never an option for you. So if you were doing traffic, conversions, engagement, that option doesn't exist there. Yep. And that's pretty common for most people. All right, let's get into the ads because you're thinking, this is why I'm here. I wanted to make ads. So something that a lot of people don't know or they're just unfamiliar with is a single campaign can have multiple ad sets. Ad sets can have multiple ads. And then depending on how you set it up, you can share your budget. And if your brain just melted, that's okay. Okay, I'm going to show you what I mean. So over on the left-hand side, here's our kind of general awareness campaign. And then I've got a new awareness ad set. And this is where it's important to make sure you label everything appropriately. So we are going to go up to the top and we're going to just call this one Kingston, Ontario, and I'll just use moms for lack of. Okay. So I've got Kingston, Ontario mums, and then I want to do 2025. I'll call it a workshop for Christine. Okay. You can have two different ads with two different pictures, two different copies running at the same time. It will reduce your ad fatigue. So people aren't going to see the same ad multiple times. So now we've got Kingston, Ontario, and then you've got two ads running underneath. You could have up to 50. And I have maxed it out a few times in my life. And it's kind of like, why 50? Why can't we make this more? But that's fine. The other thing you can do is you can duplicate the ad set. So now Christine, her workshop went so well, maybe she's going to expand into Ottawa. So now you can have an ad set that's targeted at Kingston with a budget of $100. And now Christine's going to travel to Ottawa and run a similar workshop. And now we can change that so it's targeted to people in Ottawa. So a lot of people tend to stop when they get their campaign, they do one ad set, they do one ad, and they're like, I'm good. When in fact, you can have multiple ad sets, you can have multiple ads, all with different budgets, going at different paces, locations, placement. So in here, in an ad set, you can target, you could do different placements, you could do different collateral, you could do different budgets, location, um, audiences. So it's not just limited to one. All right. So these ad types. So there's a few kind of basic ad types that you can run. So the one that you're probably most familiar with is a basic ad. So that's a static photo, a static graphic, maybe a single video. You know, you've made something on Canva, maybe you've taken a nice picture, you've got something for an ad. So that's one option. The other option that I alluded to earlier is existing content. So maybe you've posted something and you think, oh, this is great. I want to showcase my new retail shop. I want to showcase my workshop. I want to showcase these new products. You can simply boost that post or use it in an engagement post. The third type, which is kind of the lesser known, but one of my favorite ones, is dynamic ads. And dynamic ads couple very well with individuals with e-commerce websites. So if you sell something online, products, coffee, earrings, dynamic ads are great because they will customize the ad for the person who is looking at it. So there is a lovely shop in Lyndhurst, the Green Gecko. If you haven't gone there, it's lovely. But she runs dynamic ads and I see them because I fall within her audience. I don't click on them though, I look. And I'm always, you're gonna laugh, but I'm always shown it's a wine glass because I like wine, but then it has birds on it. I was like, how does it know? It knows. So everyone who sees it, so Cheryl, Christine, Vish, me, anyone who sees the ad is going to see something that's custom to them based on their preferences. So if you do own an e-commerce shop, dynamic ads are fantastic for that purpose. I've already ranted about them, but a good example of this that you may notice, Old Navy does a lot of dynamic ads. So you're always seeing that shirt, that last shirt that you looked at. Eddie Bauer is very popular. You're seeing that, the Bay. So those larger retail giants utilize this type of ad so that it gets the most customization for you looking at it. And again, you're going to set it up on Shopify. The one thing, if you are on Shopify and you think, ugh, I don't want certain things online, maybe they're too bulky to ship, maybe they're too high in value to ship, whatever, you can make certain catalogs. So it's only certain items. So you don't want to have any of your Christmas items that maybe are on sale right now, but you just want maybe your earrings and your candles. You can do that. All right, carousel. So your carousel ad type is multiple pictures. So instead of doing multiple ads, you can literally have a carousel. So it looks like this lip balm that we see at the bottom where people can scroll through and see the different shades that you could purchase. Under each one of them, it can have a unique link back to that specific red tone and that specific pink tone. So it's very, very custom. One of the challenges with carousels is that Meta will ultimately decide in what order they show up. So even though we've got this Moody bee with 6 lip balms and then, single, at any point Meta could say, hey, that one lip balm, that shows the best. So we're going to put that one first and then everything else is behind it, which is fine. However, if you have it in your head that it's going to flow in a certain order, carousels are not the best option for you. Because if, let's pretend you did a step-by-step, step 1, you do this, step 2, Meta's going to take it and mix it all up based on which one gets the most tappable action. So whether that's a click, whether that's dwell time, so looking at an ad, it will reorder it for you. But you can make it custom, like I said, based on your product or service offering. So Christine, with her physiotherapy services, she could have different pictures for, I'll say, each of her maybe clientele. It could be workshops versus private versus, acupuncture, but showcasing each one of those services, and then unique links if that exists back to her booking page. The most common ad type that we often see is the single image. So something like this. It's got a very basic text. It's got a single image with some contact information. This is the most common one that we see. It does perform very well. But again, the one thing I recommend is to have multiple creatives. So for this company that we work with, we have multiple creatives in here so that people don't get tired of seeing the same dentist in this case. So if you do want to do any promotion, if you're in the reel game and you want to do promotion, because oftentimes people can promote their reels, you can certainly do that. And you simply post your reel and then you can add kind of dollars behind it. So it can be pre-existing reels that you've done that live on your Instagram account or Facebook account that now they exist within a sponsored post category. So I've seen a lot of people do this as well. But again, make sure that you're getting the traffic that you want. Don't get too focused on the fact that, 10,000 people saw this. What's the actual results? Who came and purchased, who came and booked with you. All right, so we're going to finish up. We're going to talk about creating good ads. We've got about 12 minutes left, and then we'll get you on your way. Keep it simple. And you might think, hey, Jennifer, I'm not Timex. I don't have an ad budget like Timex. That's nice. But really what I'm looking for here is under 150 characters. Because what happens is we don't read everything. Your clients, your customers don't read everything. So try to make it as easy as possible for them to make a decision. What do you want them to do? So in this case, own a part of watchmaking history, find your Timex. That's it. That's all they have. And then they have a carousel of the different Timex. And this ad appeared, and you're going to laugh, but I'll tell you why. This ad appeared because my son, he loves knowing what time it is. So then I was looking at watches for him, not Timex specifically, but just watches. So then these started popping up to me, like digital versus analog. And he prefers the analog. He's old school like that. But this is why I started to get these campaigns, because I was initially doing searches, and you can see in this case, they're not geared towards adults. These are for kids. So it knew that I was looking specifically for children. Okay. The other thing, and it's kind of somewhat a little bit of a pain in the butt, but which is why it's good to have multiple ad sets, is there's 3 different types of sizes that you will need if you want to run your ads across all placements. And that can include a square, so 1:1 ratio. It can be 9:16 for stories. The other one, which I didn't include because I'm not a huge fan of it, it's like a 1:191 ratio. It's on the next page. So here, rather than me giving 191, that's what it is. Rather than me saying, here are the sizes forever, this website here actually, Vish, if you can put that in the chat so they can grab it, it will update it. So if you're ever unsure about what size, what's the size today, this website will give you the most accurate size with the preferred file type, the resolution, the ratio, so that you can have it designed to make it exactly what you want. So whether it's yourself doing it in Canva or you've got a graphic designer who's doing it, you can say, hey, this is what I need. And then there's less of that back and forth because something doesn't look exactly good. Okay. Okay. And then the copy. So there's 3 different sections. So the link Fish just put in the chat. So there's 3 different sections here. So for the copy, so primary text, description, and headline. And this is generally where they appear, not in all cases though. So we've got the copy. So the primary text is at the top in this feed-based ad. The headline is at the bottom in gray, and the description, which kind of doesn't even make sense as to why it's called a description, is in bold. So wanna content marketing. So it knows obviously what I do. Okay. And then there's that sign up. So there's that call to action there. But look how simple and straightforward this is. It's 2 sentences. It says 4 words. It's very, very simplistic. Same thing with this. Find out of this world Lego activities or gift ideas for space fans. Picture of Lego, blast off. Pretty basic. But again, it kind of, I want to drill in that simplicity of your message. What are you doing? And sometimes you will have to put a little bit more detail, but the key thing is keeping it simple. So your call to action button. So down at the bottom, it says donate now. And I had a call, must be over a year ago now. It was the city's communication department. They called me and they're like, how come we can get the donate now sometimes, but then it's a learn more sometimes, and then it's a shop? Why can't I get these? And depending on the campaign objective, remember early an hour ago, depending on which 6 of those you choose, there's different call to action buttons that appear on this page. So depending on what you're picking determines what is showing up as this call to action. So once we got through it, I said, oh, it's because you're choosing a different campaign type. It doesn't match what you want them to do. So that's where it's tied in. So if you're finding yourself a little bit frustrated that you can't find the most accurate call to action button, maybe you have to consider the campaign type that you're running. So let's bring this over and just take a quick peek at this. So just to show you live what this looks like, this is what your ad is going to look like. At any point, you can toggle on the ad previewed. So as you're building it, it's going to show you live. And this is where you can choose what kind of ad you want to do. So there's that existing post. So if it's something that's previously posted on a Facebook or an Instagram account, you can choose it there. So under that, right there. Or if you're going to do a single image or a video, if you're going to do a carousel. And caution, because I didn't mention it earlier, this is probably one of the more frustrating ad types to do because it's just very clunky. So it goes down a rabbit hole and it can be very, very clunky. So use with caution. So there's your single image or video. You can include your website in here. We didn't talk about tracking pixels because that is, I think we talked about that previously. Yeah, we did. We talked about it in audiences. Okay. So let's just add in an image to see what this looks like. Those social media services in Kingston. And here's Meta AI being helpful again. So see how it automatically says Kingston Get Social, boost your online presence. If you're going to pick these, make sure you proofread them so that you offer what it is that you say you offer. And some of them are pretty cheesy. So you don't have to use them if you don't want, but you can add up to 5 different variations of it. You can add your headline, and I'm doing it unique so you can see where they show up. And there it is again. Those examples. Actually, I'll put my phone number. It'll be easy to see. Okay. And then my call to action. So I'll just say request time. Maybe we'll do this one. Okay. So for this one here, there's my aspect ratio. So it's going to show me what it looks like. This is AI being helpful, and it will do a lot of this. So you can turn off. Well, let's see all the wow. This is me seeing this for the first time. This is not good. I've never seen it actually generate. These people do not work for me. This fellow does not work for me. Wow. Okay. So if you don't want to use AI, you don't have to, but it will try to continue to push AI on you. All right, let's just say done. Okay. So now you can see there's my primary text, headline and description down there, and then request time. But if you notice on the Instagram, it looks a little different. We're missing Kingston, Ontario, and we're missing our phone number. All you get is the primary text. So just because you've put it in the previous screen doesn't mean that it's going to show up across all placements. So you'll have to go in and click this advanced preview. And then you can take a look. And previously we did turn some of these off, so not all of them are even showing at this point. So you can go back at any point and say, I'm not loving how I look in Instagram Explorer, and you can go off and turn off that placement. Okay. All right. All right. So the last little bit that we're going to talk about is your ads reporting. And it's one of my favorite things because I'm a data nerd like that, and I love it. So in here in your ads reporting, you can look at this at any point. So at any point in the campaign, I would give it a couple hours, to be honest, but you can go in every single day, once a week, at least once a week, to check on your ad and to see how it's doing. So you can get reports delivered to you based on age. So in this case, I have one campaign running in this example, and I can see the biggest audience are people who are 65 plus. It's reached 38,000 people, shown up 107,000 times, with them seeing it around 2.77 times. So now I know, like, do I really want to reach this audience? Are they converting? And then I can adjust accordingly. Same thing with gender. So male, female, does it matter? And then it breaks it down based on reach, impressions, frequency. And then ads reporting. So let's look. This is just a report for one of our groups. So you can have it broken down by age, location, reach, impressions, frequency. If there's more detail that you need, it's over on the right-hand side, where we can add. It's easier just to do placement. Oh. Placements. So if you want to see where the ads are actually appearing, you can simply key in placement, and then you can see where they're showing up to see if it makes sense. So Christine asks, are more people likely to click on an ad in Facebook or Instagram? It totally depends. Partly it comes down to your audience. I find better conversions for, I want to say the bulk of our ads on Facebook primarily. And it might just be that that's the groups that we're working with, the audiences that we're working with, but almost across the board, I'd say the conversions are better on Facebook than they are on Instagram. So maybe for you as well. but again, that might be different. Okay. So I'd encourage you to look at that ads reporting and just get the details that you want. So whether it's age, gender, location, it doesn't break it down into like Kingston versus Ottawa. It will say Ontario, Alberta, or it'll say Canada, US. So if you're looking for very niche locations, it won't do that. It'll be provinces, states, and countries. But other than that, you can get impressions, reach, conversions, clicks, unique clicks. You can get as much information in here. I'll just bring this screen back. So under customize, you can play with this. Whoops. As much as you need to find the details that you want for your reporting. Okay. And that nearly brings us to the end. Oh, and then creative. Yes. So if you've got multiple ads, ad creatives running, you can see which one is working best. Okay. So that brings us to the end. So we did talk a lot about ad campaigns and then got into ad sets and creating ads. There certainly is a lot to know about this topic, but you will be receiving a copy of this recording so you can listen and learn and walk through. And hopefully this provides a little bit more light and insight into the meta ads. Okay, so if there's any other questions, I certainly will take your questions now. And if not, we do have an upcoming webinar on March 20th, and it's for email marketing. So the tool that we use is MailChimp. So it will have a lean to it with MailChimp, but a lot of the basic strategies can be used across any other social, email marketing platform. Okay, so thank you so much for attending, and you will be receiving a copy of this by email probably in the next day or so. So thanks so much.